Commander Alexis Morgan stepped onto the rocky surface of Proxima Centauri b and felt something strange. The air seemed to vibrate with energy, despite what her instruments told her about the supposedly dead planet. She had been on many survey missions before, but this one felt different. The team spread out across the barren landscape taking samples and readings. Alexis moved toward a rock formation that caught her eye. Something about the way the stones were arranged seemed too perfect to be natural. As she got closer, she saw markings that looked like writing. Alexis called to her teammate Kelly, who was the language specialist. Kelly came over and ran her scanner over the markings. Her eyes went wide. "These are not random patterns," she said. "These show signs of intelligent design. We need to report this finding." They called back to the ship, and soon the whole survey team was examining the area. What they thought was a simple rock formation turned out to be the entrance to a massive underground structure. The captain gave permission to explore, and Alexis led the team inside. The walls of the tunnel glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to respond to their presence. Alexis touched one wall, and the glow intensified. The team moved deeper into the structure and found themselves in a vast chamber with a high ceiling. The walls were covered in the same strange writing, and in the center stood what appeared to be some kind of altar. "This is incredible," Alexis whispered as she approached the altar. "The writing here is different." Kelly said it seems more important somehow. As Alexis got closer to the altar, the symbols began to glow brighter. She felt drawn to them in a way she could not explain. When she reached out to touch the altar, the entire chamber suddenly hummed with power. The floor beneath them trembled, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden room. Alexis signaled for caution, but felt compelled to investigate. Inside the small room was what looked like a sleeping pod made of a crystal-like material. Alexis could see a small figure inside. The team gathered around the pod, unsure what to do. The figure inside appeared humanoid, but with distinctly non-human features: pointed ears, pale, luminescent skin, and delicate features that reminded Alexis of the elves from old Earth stories. According to their scans, the being was alive, but in some form of suspended animation. Alexis studied the control panel next to the pod. The symbols were similar to those on the altar. She hesitated, then pressed what seemed to be the main control. The pod hissed and the crystal cover slowly dissolved. The small figure inside a childlike female began to stir. The team stepped back, weapons ready just in case. The alien child opened her eyes, revealing irises that swirled with colors like tiny galaxies. She looked directly at Alexis and then did something that shocked everyone. She spoke in perfect English. "You're my father," the small alien girl whispered. Her voice was soft but clear, and the words made no sense to Alexis. "I think you're confused," Alexis said. "I can't be your father. I'm human and female, and I've never been to this planet before." The girl sat up in the pod and studied Alexis with those strange eyes. "I am not confused," she said. "Your DNA signature activated my pod. Only my parent could do that." The others in the team exchanged worried glances. Before Alexis could ask more questions, an alarm began to sound throughout the structure. The walls flashed red, and the writing pulsed with urgent energy. "We need to leave now," yelled Kelly as her scanner showed massive power surges throughout the complex. The alien child climbed out of the pod with surprising grace. "Something else is waking up," she said, looking concerned. "We must take Ember too." She pointed to a smaller pod next to hers that Alexis hadn't noticed before. Inside was what looked like a small reptilian creature with scaled skin and folded wings. "There's no time," argued Kelly as the tremors grew stronger. "The structure is activating some kind of defense system." The alien child ran to the smaller pod and pressed several controls in rapid succession. The pod opened, and the small dragon-like creature inside opened its eyes. Alexis watched in amazement as the creature unfurled its wings and chirped at the alien girl. The connection between them was obvious as the creature leapt onto the girl's shoulder. The girl turned to Alexis. "They will destroy this place and everything in it. Must leave now." The decision went against protocol, but Alexis trusted her instincts. "We take them both," she ordered. Kelly looked ready to argue, but another violent shake of the ground changed her mind. The team rushed back through the tunnels as chunks of ceiling began to fall. The alien girl ran alongside Alexis, the small dragon creature clinging to her shoulder. They barely made it out of the structure before a massive energy beam shot from the top of the mountain behind them. The beam hit the entrance, causing it to collapse in a cloud of dust. The team ran for their shuttle as more beams began targeting the area around them. Once aboard the shuttle, they strapped in for emergency takeoff. The small alien girl sat calmly beside Alexis while the dragon creature curled in her lap. The girl looked at Alexis with those galaxy eyes. "I knew you'd come for me one day," she said. "My name is Lyra, and this is Ember. We have been waiting for you for a very long time." The shuttle broke atmosphere and headed for the Starlight Wanderer in orbit. Captain Natalie Winters was not pleased when she heard Alexis report. "I want both aliens in quarantine immediately," she ordered when they docked. Alexis felt protective of Lyra and Ember, but knew protocol existed for good reasons. In the quarantine bay, medical officer Patricia ran scans on both aliens. The results made her call Alexis and the captain immediately. "This is impossible," she said, showing them the data. "The alien child shares 50% of her DNA with Commander Morgan." "How is this possible?" asked Captain Winters, looking at Alexis suspiciously. "I have no idea," responded Alexis, "but I'm going to find out." While the adults talked, Lyra sat on the examination table with Ember. She looked around the ship with curious eyes and whispered to her dragon friend, "The journey has begun just as it was foretold. Now we must prepare her for what comes next." The small dragon nodded its scaled head as if it understood perfectly. Its eyes glowed. With an intelligence far beyond that of a simple animal, Alexis watched them from behind the observation glass. Her life had changed forever, and she knew it. The impossible child who called her father would bring answers. But Alexis sensed she would bring something else too. Something that would change not just her life, but the fate of humanity itself. She just didn't know if that was a good thing or a very dangerous one. The quarantine room aboard the Starlight Wanderer felt cold and sterile. Alexis watched through the glass as Lyra sat cross-legged on the examination table with Ember curled in her lap. The medical staff had taken blood samples, tissue samples, and countless scans, but the results only created more questions. Captain Winters stood beside Alexis, reviewing the data. "This is unprecedented," she said. "The genetic match is undeniable. But how can this child share your DNA?" Alexis had no answer. She felt drawn to Lyra in a way she could not explain. Not just curiosity, but something deeper, like a connection that had always existed. Medical Officer Patricia entered the observation room with a serious expression on her face. "The results are confirmed," she said. "The alien child shares exactly 50% genetic material with Commander Morgan. The match is too precise to be coincidence or contamination." "What about the dragon creature?" asked Captain Winters. Patricia shook her head. "Its biology is unlike anything in our database. It's not carbon-based, yet not entirely energy-based either. It exists in a state that defies our understanding of life forms." Captain Winters turned to Alexis. "I need answers, Commander, and I need them now." Alexis nodded. "I would like to speak with Lyra alone." The captain hesitated, then gave permission. Alexis entered the quarantine room and sat across from the strange child. Lyra looked up with those galaxy eyes and smiled. Ember stirred on her lap, the small dragon, watching Alexis with intelligent eyes. "You have questions," she said simply. Alexis nodded, trying to remain professional despite the storm of emotions inside her. "You called me father," she said. "Why I come from your genetic material." Lyra explained. "You are my parent in the truest sense, though not in the way humans typically reproduce," Alexis struggled to understand. "Then who carried you? Who raised you?" "No one carried me. Lyra said I was created in a Genesis chamber. 300 years from now you will make a discovery that changes everything. You will find the key to interstellar travel that will save humanity. But this discovery makes you both hero and target." Alexis tried to process this information. "You were created in the future. From my genetic material. But why send you back in time to find me?" Lyra nodded. The small dragon chirped as if adding to the conversation. Ember agrees, she said with a small smile. We were sent back to find you, because time is not what you think it is. Lyra explained that she came from a race called the Stellaris, ancient beings who could manipulate time itself. Your future self discovered that humans are descendants of Stellaris, who lost their abilities over generations. Your discovery reawakens that potential in humanity. But not everyone wants humans to reclaim this power, as Lyra spoke. Alexis felt a strange sensation, like memories trying to surface, memories of things that had not happened yet, of things that would happen in a future that might never come to pass if this child was telling the truth. You were created as a vessel, she realized, for my knowledge and abilities. Yes. Lyra confirmed, I carry the genetic memories of your future self, the knowledge that will save humanity. But I needed to find you when the time was right so you could begin the journey. Alexis looked at the small dragon. What about Ember? What is his role? Lyra stroked the dragon's scaled head. He is the last of the void drakes, she said. Beings that can create passages through space and time. He is young now, but he will grow. The captain thinks he is my pet, but he is my partner, my protector, and so much more. Outside the quarantine room, Captain Winters received a transmission from Earth Command. She listened carefully, her expression hardening with every word. When the transmission ended, she turned to Security Officer Samantha. They want the aliens delivered to Military Research Division immediately, she said. No exceptions. Alexis emerged from quarantine with more questions than answers, but also with a growing certainty that Lyra was telling the truth. Captain Winters called her to the command deck, where she found the senior officers gathered. Their expressions were grim. We have new orders from Earth. The captain said the aliens are to be handed over to military research upon our return. They consider them valuable assets for study. Alexis felt a surge of protectiveness. They are living beings, not assets. She argued these beings could represent first contact with an advanced civilization. We should treat them with dignity and respect. The captain was unmoved. Orders are orders. Commander, she said dismissively, our priority is getting them back to Earth intact. Meanwhile, I want you to get as much information from them as possible. Learn everything you can about their technology and abilities. That night, Alexis dreamed she saw herself older, wiser, standing in a laboratory unlike any she had seen before. She watched as her future self worked, with strange equipment creating something in a glowing chamber. All around her a war raged. She heard explosions, saw flashes of light through windows that looked out on an Earth she barely recognized. The dream shifted and she saw her future self, standing before a council of stern-faced military leaders. They denied her request for something important. She argued passionately, but they refused. Then she watched as her future self made a decision. Stealing equipment, making plans in secret building, something with desperate determination. Alexis woke with a start, breathing hard. The dream felt more like memory than imagination. She dressed quickly and went to the quarantine room. Lyra was awake, sitting in the same cross-legged position, Ember curled beside her. You saw, didn't you? Lyra said quietly. The memories are beginning to surface. You sent yourself back, Alexis said, understanding dawning. My future self created. You sent you back with Ember to change something. What is it, Lyra? The future. We are trying to prevent. Lyra looked sad. The extinction of humanity. She said simply. And the Stellaris. And the void. Drakes. All life as we know it. Over the next few days, Alexis spent every available moment with Lyra and Ember learning about the future that awaited Earth. Lyra explained that humanity was on the verge of an evolutionary leap, forward, one that would allow them to join the cosmic community of advanced beings. But another race called the Eclipsers wanted to prevent this. They fear what humans will become, Lyra said as she demonstrated her ability to manipulate small objects with her mind. Humans have potential beyond what you can imagine. Alexis watched in amazement as Ember changed colors, his scales shifting to match. the room around him almost disappearing. "Can I learn to do these things?" she asked. "You already have the ability." Lyra explained, placing her small hand over Alexis' heart. "It sleeps inside you. Ember can help awaken it." The small dragon chirped and moved, to Alexis touching his head to her forehead. She felt a warm sensation spread through her mind, images and feelings that were not her own yet, somehow familiar. Security Officer Samantha grew increasingly suspicious of the time Alexis spent with the aliens. She reported to Captain Winters. "Commander Morgan is becoming too attached," she said. "I believe the aliens may be influencing her somehow." The captain nodded. "I have noticed the same thing. Monitor her closely and restrict her access to the aliens." Meanwhile, the ship's AI detected an anomaly. An unknown vessel appeared briefly at the edge of their sensor range, then vanished. When informed, Captain Winters showed no surprise. She called a private meeting with select officers. Alexis was not invited. The Starlight Wanderer changed course slightly, a minor adjustment that few would notice. That night, Alexis dreamed again. This time she saw Captain Winters meeting with strange beings. Their skin was dark like the space between stars, their eyes cold and calculating. She heard them speaking of alliances of Earth and agreements made without the knowledge of most humans. She saw the captain nodding, accepting orders from these beings. When Alexis woke, she knew the dream was real. Earth had already made contact with the Eclipsers, had already formed an alliance. Captain Winters was their agent. And now, Alexis, Lyra, and Ember were being delivered straight into their hands. She rushed to the quarantine room but found it empty. Panic seized her until she heard Lyra's voice in her mind. "We are hidden," she heard the child say. "They came for us, but Ember concealed us. Find us in the cargo bay." Alexis moved through the ship, carefully avoiding security cameras. When she reached the cargo bay, she saw nothing at first. Then a shimmer in the air revealed Lyra and Ember. The dragon had grown larger, now the size of a large dog. "They are taking us to them," Lyra said. "They will use me to find your future self and stop the discovery from ever happening. Then humanity will never reach its potential, never join the cosmic community." Alexis made her decision in that moment. "I won't let that happen," she promised. "We need to find a way off this ship." Lyra smiled, a knowing smile that seemed too old for her childlike face. "There is a way," she said, "but first you must accept who you truly are. Alexis, who you will become." Ember growled softly, his eyes glowing with cosmic fire. The time has come. Alexis realized, for her to choose between the future she knew and one she could barely imagine. Alexis moved carefully through the maintenance tunnels of the Starlight Wanderer, with Lyra and Ember close behind. The ship that had been her home for 3 years now felt alien and hostile. Security protocols had been activated, and she could hear alerts throughout the ship. "Commander Morgan and the aliens are missing. Report. Any sightings immediately. We need somewhere safe to hide and think," Alexis whispered. Lyra nodded calmly, as if being hunted on a spaceship was perfectly normal. The small dragon, now the size of a large dog, padded silently beside them, its scales shifting colors to blend with the surroundings. "I know where we can go," Lyra said. "There are spaces between spaces on this vessel." Alexis followed as Lyra led them to an access panel near the ship's core. The alien girl placed her hand on the panel and closed her eyes. The panel slid open, revealing not the expected machinery, but a small chamber that seemed impossible, given the ship's blueprints. Ember entered first, then Lyra motioned for Alexis to follow. Once inside, the panel closed behind them. The chamber was dimly lit with a soft blue glow, similar to the ruins where they had found Lyra. "How is this possible?" Alexis asked, looking around at the space that should not exist. Ember created it. Lyra explained, "Void drakes can fold space. They can't maintain large folds for long, but this small pocket will hide us temporarily." Alexis sat on the floor, trying to process everything that had happened since Proxima Centauri. Lyra settled beside her, with Ember curled protectively around them both. "You said your people are called the Stellaris. Alexis said, "Tell me more about them. Who are they really? What is their connection to humans?" Lyra smiled. "The Stellaris are not just advanced aliens," she explained. "They are guardians of cosmic balance. They watch over developing species and guide them toward their potential. Humans are special. Alexis, they carry Stellaris genes dormant but present. Your species is meant for greatness. But these eclipsers..." Alexis prompted, "What do they want?" Lyra stroked Ember's scales as she considered her answer. "The eclipsers believe the universe should remain as it is," she said. "They fear change and evolution. They would rather destroy a species than allow it to evolve beyond their control. They have hunted the Stellaris and Void Drakes nearly to extinction, and now they hunt humans," Alexis guessed. "Or they will." Lyra nodded. "In my time, the war has already begun. Earth is divided some. Humans side with the Eclipsers hoping to gain power. Others fight to protect humanity's future. Your discovery changes everything. It proves humans can evolve, can claim their cosmic heritage." Ember growled softly, his eyes glowing. The dragon was trying to communicate something to Lyra. She listened, then turned to Alexis. "Captain Winters has contacted the Eclipser vessel that follows us. She said they will rendezvous in 6 hours. We need to act before then." Alexis tried to think strategically. "The ship has escape pods, but they track us easily, and we can't take control of the bridge without help. We need allies," she realized. Looking at Lyra, she asked, "Is there anyone else on this ship we can trust?" Lyra closed her eyes, concentrating. "There is one," she said finally. "Communications Officer Grace Harper harbors doubts about Captain Winters. She has noticed inconsistencies in transmissions. Her mind is open questioning." Alexis knew Grace casually. They had shared meals occasionally but never spoke of anything important. "Could we reach her without being caught?" Ember made a chirping sound and stretched his wings, which now spanned nearly 2 meters. "Your Void Drake has grown," Alexis observed. Lyra nodded. "He grows as needed," she explained. "He can help us reach Grace Harper. He can create a small fold between here and her quarters, but only for moments. We must convince her quickly." They waited until ship night when most crew members were sleeping. Ember concentrated, his eyes glowing brighter. The air in their hidden chamber rippled and tore, showing a glimpse of another room where Grace Harper sat at her desk reviewing data. Before Alexis could question the plan, Lyra grabbed her hand and pulled her through the tier, Ember following. Close behind, Grace jumped up startled as 3 figures appeared in her quarters. She reached for her communicator but stopped when she recognized Alexis' commander. She gasped. "What is happening?" Alexis raised her hands, showing she meant no harm. "Grace, we need your help. The ship has been compromised. Captain Winters is working with hostile aliens." Grace stared at Lyra and the now large dragon with wide eyes. "I knew something was wrong," she whispered. "The transmissions. The course changes. The secret meetings." She looked at Alexis. "I intercepted a transmission not meant for regular channels. The captain was reporting to someone not in Earth Command. Show." Her Lyra urged, placing her small hand on Grace's forehead. The communications officer gasped as images flowed into her mind. The Eclipsers, the Alliance, the plans for humanity. Ember growled softly, his scales rippling with colors. When Lyra removed her hand, Grace was pale but resolute. "I am not the only one," she said. "There are others who have, noticed strange things. A resistance of sorts." She explained that Earth had been infiltrated by Eclipsers for decades. Key government positions had been compromised. The Starlight Wanderer mission was never about exploration, but about finding and retrieving artifacts like Lyra and Ember. "We need to warn Earth." Alexis said. Grace shook her head. "Most of Earth Command is already compromised." She explained. "The Resistance operates in secret. There are protocols for situations like this." She moved, to her desk and removed a hidden panel revealing a small communication device. This will contact the Resistance, but we need to be closer to Earth. How long until we reach Earth? Alexis asked. 3 days. Grace answered. But the Eclipser vessel will rendezvous with us tomorrow. They will take the aliens and likely eliminate anyone who knows too much, including you. Commander Alexis looked at Lyra and Ember. We need a plan, Lyra. Sat cross-legged on the floor with Ember beside her. The Void Drake had grown again, now the size of a pony, his wings folded against his powerful body. We must awaken your abilities. Alexis, she said. It is the only way. Grace watched in fascination as Lyra instructed Alexis to sit across from her. Place your hands on Ember's head, the child directed. When Alexis touched the dragon's scaled head, images flooded her mind. She saw stars being born, planets forming life, evolving. She saw beings of light and energy guiding, shaping, protecting. She saw herself in a future laboratory making a discovery that changed everything. And she saw the Eclipser's shadows that consumed light, spreading across the galaxy. Ember growled deeply as energy flowed between them. Alexis felt something awakening inside her DNA, responding to the dragon's touch. Ancient memories encoded in her genes stirred to life. She gasped as knowledge filled her mind. Knowledge of stars and time and the fabric of reality itself. The Stellaris knowledge hidden within human DNA all along. When the connection ended, Alexis opened her eyes, which now shimmered with the same galaxy-like quality as Lyra's. She understood now. The truth about humanity. About the Stellaris. About the cosmic war that had raged across time itself. Humans were never meant to be alone in the universe. They were children of the stars, descendants of guardians. Grace watched in awe as Alexis stood, energy shimmering around her hands. What do we do now? She asked. Alexis turned to her. We need to reach key members of the Resistance. Warn them about what the Eclipser's plan. Tell them about the human potential that is being suppressed. Grace nodded. I can help with that. But first, we need to get control of this ship, Alexis. Lyra and Ember spent hours planning with Grace. They identified potential allies among the crew and developed a strategy to take control of key systems. They would need the engine room, the bridge, and the communications array. Grace would approach trusted crew members one by one, while Alexis and the aliens remained hidden. Their plan was interrupted by a ship-wide announcement. Attention all crew, the captain's voice echoed. We will be rendezvousing with a research vessel in 3 hours. All non-essential personnel are to remain in quarters during the transfer. Essential personnel report to briefing room immediately. They are moving faster than expected, Grace said, looking worried. Alexis felt a new confidence flowing through her newly awakened abilities. Then we move, now, she decided. We can't wait. The Eclipsers must not get Lyra and Ember. Grace nodded and left to contact potential allies. While she was gone, Alexis turned to Lyra. There is more you haven't told me. She said. The alien girl looked up with those ancient eyes in a child's face. There is always more, she acknowledged. Some truths you must discover for yourself, but yes, there is more to our story than I have shared. Alexis knelt before the child. Your purpose here, it's not just to warn me, is it? Lyra shook her head. No, she said simply. I am here to complete a circle. Ember growled in agreement, his wings unfurling slightly. I don't understand. Alexis said. Lyra reached out and touched Alexis' face. You will, she promised. When the time comes, Grace returned with news. 4 crew members had agreed to help. Medical officer Patricia, engineer Maya, communications specialist Lynn, and science officer Kelly all had noticed strange occurrences on the ship. All had doubts about the captain, but security officer Samantha remained loyal to Winters Gao. We'll need to move carefully, Grace warned. She has armed the security team. Alexis nodded. We divide into teams, she decided. Grace, you and Lynn take communications. Maya and Kelly take engineering. Patricia will create a distraction in medical. Lyra, Ember, and I will go for the bridge. Lyra looked up at Alexis with approval in her galaxy eyes. You're beginning to think like a Stellaris, she said. As they prepared to leave their hiding place, suddenly. Alarms blared throughout the Starlight Wanderer, as Alexis led her small team through the maintenance corridors. Ember, now too large to move stealthily, created a distraction in the cargo bay, drawing security forces away from their targets. Grace and Lynn broke away first, heading for the communications array, while Maya and Kelly moved toward engineering. Alexis, Lyra, and Ember made their way toward the bridge security forces, moved through the ship, weapons drawn. Captain Winter's voice came. Over the intercom, "Commander Morgan has been compromised by the alien entities," she announced. "All personnel are authorized to use deadly force to protect this vessel." Alexis knew the captain was lying, but the crew would believe their Commander Winters had served with distinction for 15 years, her record spotless. The small dragon flew ahead, scouting their path, his size now alarming, closer to that of a small shuttle than the tiny creature they had found on Proxima Centauri b. His scales shimmered with cosmic energy and his eyes blazed with intelligence. Lyra communicated with him silently through their bond. "The security team is ahead," she warned Alexis. "They have set up a barricade." Alexis focused, drawing on her newly awakened abilities. She felt the energy flowing through her, responding to her will. She reached out with her mind, sensing the security team ahead, 4 officers armed with stun weapons. She could disable them, but didn't want to hurt her former colleagues. These people were not the enemy, just pawns in a larger game. Ember growled softly, offering a solution. Through Lyra. Alexis understood. He could create a small fold in space, a temporary doorway that would bypass the barricade, but maintaining it would drain him significantly. They would need to move quickly. Alexis nodded her agreement, and Ember focused his power. The air rippled and tore, showing a glimpse of the corridor beyond the security team. They stepped through the tear, emerging behind the security team. Ember collapsed, momentarily exhausted by the effort. Alexis caught him supporting his now considerable weight. "Rest," she told the dragon. "We will need your strength later." Lyra helped her companion as they continued toward the bridge. Now only 2 decks away, in engineering, Maya and Kelly faced resistance. Engineer Vance, a loyal supporter of Captain Winters, blocked their access to the engine controls. "This is mutiny," he said, his hand hovering over the alarm. Maya tried to reason with him. "The captain is working with hostile aliens," she explained. "They plan to hand over the alien child and her companion to an unknown vessel." Vance wavered, uncertain. Kelly seized the moment, showing him data she had collected. Evidence of unauthorized course changes, secret transmissions, ship systems being modified without proper documentation. Vance studied the information, his loyalty to the ship overcoming his loyalty to the captain. He stepped aside, giving them access to the engine controls. In communications, Grace and Lynn worked quickly to establish contact with the resistance Grace had spoken of. The regular channels were monitored, so they used an old emergency frequency keying in a special code. The response was immediate but cautious. "Identify the communications officer," demanded Grace. Provided authentication codes and a brief explanation of their situation. "We have a Stellaris child and Void Drake aboard." She transmitted Captain Winters' plans to deliver them to an Eclipser vessel that follows us. The Resistance officer responded with urgency. "Can you delay the rendezvous?" Grace looked to Lynn, who nodded. "We can create engine problems," she suggested, buying us time on the bridge. Captain Winters received reports of disturbances throughout the ship. She knew Morgan was making her move sooner than expected. Security Officer Samantha stood beside her, awaiting orders. "Lock down all decks," the captain ordered. "Seal the bridge. No one enters without my direct authorization." She turned to Samantha. "Find Morgan, and the aliens, bring them here." Samantha hesitated. "The aliens have shown significant abilities, Captain," she said. "Morgan appears to have developed similar capabilities. Are lethal methods authorized?" The captain fixed her with a cold stare. "Whatever is necessary." "Officer Morgan is compromised beyond recovery." Samantha nodded and left the bridge, assembling a tactical team. Alexis, Lyra, and Ember reached the deck below the bridge, only to find the access-sealed emergency protocols had been activated, locking down all critical areas of the ship. Alexis studied the reinforced door designed to withstand explosives and weapons fire. Her enhanced senses detected the energy field surrounding it. Even Ember could not create a fold through such protection. Need another way, Alexis said. Lyra closed her eyes, concentrating on the ship's layout. There, she said, pointing to a maintenance shaft that leads to life support systems for the bridge. We can access it through there. Ember had recovered enough to move again, though slower than before. The dragon led the way, using his enhanced senses to detect security measures as they navigated the narrow maintenance shaft. Lyra spoke softly. Your abilities are growing stronger. Alexis, soon you will understand everything. The full truth of who you are, who I am, who we become. Alexis wanted to ask more questions but focused on their immediate goal. The shaft ended at a small access panel that opened into the life support room adjacent to the bridge. Alexis peered through the panel. The room was empty, but she could hear voices from the bridge beyond. Captain Winters was speaking to someone, her tone deferential. We will deliver the specimens as promised. Supreme Commander, the aliens will not escape us. Again, a cold voice responded. Failure will not be tolerated. Captain Winters, this is your last chance. Alexis recognized that voice from her dreams, the Eclipser Commander, the enemy that had haunted her future self. She felt a surge of anger, but controlled, it focusing on their plan. Lyra touched her arm, sensing her emotion. Alexis nodded and carefully removed the access panel. They entered the life support room. Silently, Ember remained in the shaft, his size now too great for the small room. On the bridge, Captain Winters ended her communication with the Eclipser Commander and turned to her bridge crew status report. She demanded security reports disturbances in engineering and communications. Lieutenant Kim reported, they are attempting to locate. Commander Morgan and the aliens' engineering reports problems with the main drive. Winters cursed under her breath. Everything was falling apart. The rendezvous was in less than an hour, and Morgan was loose on her ship with the aliens. The Supreme Commander would not tolerate another failure. Seal off engineering and communications, she ordered. Send security teams to both locations. In the life support room, Alexis and Lyra prepared to enter the bridge. The door between them and the bridge was locked, but not as heavily protected as the main entrance. Alexis focused her energy on the locking mechanism, feeling its components with her mind. She manipulated the internal workings until she heard a soft click. The door was unlocked. Alexis turned to Lyra. Stay here, she whispered. I will deal with the captain. The alien girl shook her head. We face this together. She insisted. We are bound, Alexis and Lyra, together. You and I, we need each other to complete what has begun. Alexis wanted to protect the child, but understood she was far more than she appeared. She nodded her agreement. They entered the bridge together. Captain Winters turned in shock as the side door opened. Alexis. Morgan stood there, transformed from the officer she had known. The commander's eyes shimmered with cosmic energy. Her presence commanding, the alien child stood beside her, small but equally powerful. The bridge crew froze, uncertain what to do. Security to the bridge, Winters shouted, reaching for her weapon. Alexis raised her hand and the weapon flew from the captain's grasp, clattering against the far wall. The bridge crew backed away, some in fear, others in awe. No more lies. Captain Alexis said, her voice resonating with power. Tell them the truth. Tell them who you really serve. Winters laughed, a cold sound without humor. You understand nothing. Morgan, she said. You think this is about sides, about good and evil. This is about survival. Humanity was never meant to evolve beyond its current state. The Eclipsers offer protection in exchange for obedience. They allow us to exist as what Alexis demanded, pet slaves. The captain shook her head. As partners, she insisted, the Eclipsers have technology beyond your imagination. They can extend life, prevent disease, eliminate suffering. All they ask is that we remain as we are, not evolving, not becoming like them, and those who disagree. Alexis asked, those who want humanity to reach its potential. Captain Winters didn't answer, but her expression hardened. Lyra stepped forward. "The Eclipsers fear what humans will become," she said, addressing the bridge crew. "They fear the awakening of the Stellaris genes within you. They would rather see humanity extinct than evolved." The bridge crew looked between the captain and Alexis, uncertain who to believe. Lieutenant Kim spoke first. "Why should we trust either of you?" he asked. "Both claim to protect humanity, but ask us to fight our own." Alexis nodded, understanding his confusion. "I don't ask you to fight," she said. "I ask you to think, to question. Why would advanced aliens fear human evolution?" The moment of uncertainty was broken as the bridge doors slid open. Security Officer Samantha entered with her tactical team, weapons raised. Captain Winters smiled coldly. "Arrest them," she ordered. Samantha hesitated, her gaze moving between the captain and Alexis. Something about Morgan had changed. Something powerful. Before anyone could move, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Proximity alert," Lieutenant Kim announced, checking. "His console, an unknown vessel has dropped out of FTL directly alongside us. Its massive captain matching our course and speed." The main screen activated, showing the Starlight Wanderer shuddered as another energy beam from the Eclipser vessel struck their shields. The massive black crescent ship loomed outside, dwarfing the human vessel. Captain Winters had been confined to quarters under guard while Lieutenant Kim took command of the bridge. Alexis stood beside him with Lyra and Ember, who continued to grow and change his form. Now mostly energy contained in a dragon, shape shields at 40%. Lieutenant Kim reported. "Another hit like that, and they will fail." The Eclipser vessel had advanced weapons technology far beyond Earth capabilities. They were toying with the Starlight Wanderer like a cat with a mouse. Grace appeared on the main screen from Communications Commander. "We have established contact with the Resistance," she announced. "They are sending ships but won't arrive for hours." "We don't have hours," Alexis said, watching as the Eclipser vessel maneuvered for another attack. "We need to buy time." Maya spoke from engineering. "We can attempt an emergency jump," she suggested. "But the coordinates would be random. We could end up anywhere." Alexis looked to Lyra, who shook her head. "That would only delay the inevitable," she said. "We must face them here now." Ember growled, his massive form pulsing with cosmic energy. Lyra listened to him, then turned to Alexis. "He says there is another way," she translated. "But it requires something from you. Something only you can give." Alexis felt drawn to the dragon, understanding somehow what was being asked. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked, her eyes reflecting the stars themselves. Security Officer Samantha interrupted their exchange. "Captain, they are hailing us." Lieutenant Kim nodded. "Put them on screen," he ordered. The main screen flickered, showing a humanoid figure shrouded in darkness, only glowing eyes visible. Supreme Commander Vex of the Eclipser Empire. The bridge crew stood straighter in the presence of such power. "Your resistance is pointless," the Supreme Commander said in a voice that seemed to absorb light rather than create sound. "Surrender the Stellaris child and the Void Drake. Your crew will be spared. Your planet will remain under our protection. This is the only offer you will receive." Lieutenant Kim looked to Alexis, uncertain how to respond. Alexis stepped forward, facing the Supreme Commander. "You offer protection," she said, "but demand submission. You promise safety, but deliver stagnation." The Eclipser's eyes narrowed. "You understand nothing, human," he replied. "We have watched your species for millennia, guided your development, prevented your extinction. You exist because we allow it." Lyra moved to stand beside Alexis. "You fear what humans will become," she said, her childlike voice somehow powerful enough to silence the Supreme Commander. "You fear the awakening. You fear the circle completing itself." The Eclipser leader hissed with anger. "The circle will be broken, child. Your mission will fail." The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by the image of the massive Eclipser vessel, its weapons powering up for a final attack. Lieutenant Kim turned to Alexis. "What did he mean?" "What circle?" Alexis looked at Lyra, understanding flowing between them. "There is more to this than a simple conflict," she realized, "more than a battle for humanity's future." There isn't much time, Lyra said. The Eclipsers will destroy this ship rather than let us complete our purpose. She turned to Alexis. You know what we must do now. You feel it inside you. The truth you have been avoiding. Alexis nodded, feeling the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. I have seen it in dreams, she admitted. Memories of a future that hasn't happened. Yet Lieutenant Kim ordered all power to shields, but everyone knew it was futile. The Eclipser weapons would tear through their defenses in moments. Alexis turned to the bridge crew. You have been brave, she said. But this is not your fight anymore. Evacuate the ship, Lieutenant. Kim shook his head. We stand with you, Commander. He insisted. No, Alexis said firmly. This ship must be empty except for us. She gestured to herself. Lyra and Ember, what happens next cannot involve others. Lieutenant Kim wanted to argue, but something in Alexis' expression stopped him. The galaxy-like quality of her eyes, the power that seemed to radiate from her. He nodded reluctantly, giving the evacuation order. As the crew rushed to the escape pods, Alexis, Lyra, and Ember made their way to the engine room. The heart of the ship, where the main reactor pulsed with energy, Ember had grown. Impossibly large, his form barely contained within the ship itself. His scales now purely energy patterns, cosmic fire running through his veins. He settled in the reactor chamber, his form merging with the ship's systems. What happens now? Alexis asked. Watching as Ember transformed before her eyes, Lyra took her hand. I told you that I was created from your genetic material. She said, that you are my parent in the truest sense. But there is more. I am not just your offspring. I am your vessel. The dragon growled in agreement, the sound vibrating through the ship itself. I don't understand. Alexis said, though part of her did understand. The memories that had been surfacing, the dreams, the sense of recognition when she first saw Lyra all pointed to a truth she had been avoiding. Lyra smiled. That future self who sent me back, she explained. She didn't just send her genetic material, she sent her consciousness, her soul. Alexis stared at the child, understanding dawning. You are me, she whispered. Lyra nodded. I am your consciousness reborn, she confirmed. Born into a form that could survive time travel, born to find you to complete the circle. Ember roared, his form expanding, filling the chamber with cosmic energy, the ship groaning under the pressure of containing him. The Eclipsers have found us in every timeline, Lyra explained. They have stopped us countless times, but they have never faced us united. They have never faced us whole. That is why they fear us. That is why they hunt us. They know what happens when the circle completes, when past and future merge, when Stellaris and human become one. Outside the ship, the Eclipser vessel fired its main weapon, a beam of pure darkness that would tear through the Starlight Wanderer like paper. The shields failed immediately, but the beam never reached the hull. Instead, it seemed to bend around the ship, absorbed by some unseen force. Ember roared again, his power growing beyond containment. It's time, Lyra said, holding out her hand to Alexis. The moment of unity. The moment we have worked across centuries to create. Alexis felt no fear, only certainty as she took the child's hand. Energy flowed between them, memories merging past, present, and future, becoming one. She saw herself in a future laboratory discovering the key to human evolution. She saw herself hunted by Eclipsers. She saw herself creating Lyra, sending her back through time with Ember to find herself to complete the circle. The Starlight Wanderer began to glow from within as Ember's power merged with the ship systems. The Eclipser vessel fired again and again, each beam absorbed, strengthening what was happening inside Alexis, and Lyra stood in the center of the engine room, their forms beginning to merge, not physically, but on a deeper level, their consciousness flowing together, memories aligning, understanding growing. I understand now, Alexis whispered as the merge continued. You are not just my future consciousness. You are what I become when I accept my heritage. When I awaken the Stellaris within, Lyra nodded as her form began to shimmer with light. We are the bridge, she said, the link between what humanity is and what it will become. We are the first awakened human, the first to reclaim our cosmic heritage. Ember, surrounded them, his energy coconing them as the transformation continued. The Starlight Wanderer began to change as well, its systems merging with Ember's. Consciousness, its metal and circuitry becoming something new, something alive. The Eclipser vessel continued its attack, but each blow only accelerated the process, feeding power to what was being born. In a flash of light that could be seen across the solar system, Alexis and Lyra became one. Neither human nor Stellaris, but something new, a being that existed across time, that understood the cosmic dance, that could see the threads of reality itself. Their form was still humanoid but ethereal, glowing with inner light. Their eyes contained galaxies, their skin shimmered with cosmic energy. Ember completed his transformation as well. His dragon form expanded, becoming a vessel of living energy, capable of traveling not just through space but through time itself. He merged with the transformed ship, creating something that had never existed before, a living vessel piloted by a consciousness that spanned past and future. The Eclipser's Supreme Commander watched in horror as his weapons failed to stop what was happening. The human vessel changed before his eyes, becoming something that should not exist, something from beyond time itself. Starlight Wanderer was gone, replaced by a shimmering craft of pure energy, shaped like a massive dragon. The being that had been Alexis and Lyra stood at its heart, unified, complete, awakened. The merged consciousness reached out across space, touching the minds of the Eclipser crew. "You have hunted us across time," it said in a voice that resonated through reality. "You have tried to prevent what is meant to be. But the circle is complete. The awakening has begun." The Eclipsers felt fear for the first time in millennia as they faced something beyond their understanding. With a thought, the being that had been Alexis and Lyra opened a portal in space, a tier in reality through which they could travel anywhere, anywhen. The living ship that had been Ember and Starlight Wanderer entered the portal, vanishing from normal space. The Eclipser vessel attempted to